a massive announcement here on Leafs Line, a project that myself and the colleagues here have been working on for quite some time. We have this new network that we have just started. It is launched today called Dynasty Sports Network, DSN. You could visit it at dynastysportsnetwork.ca. The link will be in the description, and even on this channel as well. I will be posting it on the screen, so you could even check it out. And
it will be on the screen.
It will.
At the bottom corner, or I don't know where I am on your screen, but at the bottom in the middle, you will see the website. Go to it.
Absolutely. It is a terrific website. Put in a lot of time and effort into this one. We got articles, we got podcasts such as the Leafs Line here. We got baseball, basketball, any sport, you name it, we have it. And you can follow us all on social media. There's a bunch of different handles. You can check it out on our website. It is listed on the homepage, but quite a fun project to say the least to put together. Please check it out. It would mean the world if you guys can click on it, check it out. Lots of good content as well. And all these guys here put in so much hard work as well. So it would mean the world, not just me, but all of us here. But let's get that out of the way. DSN is here. It is going to be here, and it is going to be electric down the road. I can't wait to see what we can do. But Leafs Line, the news for you guys who've been watching this show forever is that it's not changing. We are still sticking around. You're going to see a lot of new things, including the thumbnail to this video. Credit to Mr. Adamo Rimoli for assembling that. We are now represented by DSN, and you can definitely see it when you go look at our video. And I think we're going to have, I know I'm going to get to the editing a little bit after this video, but the template that we're going to be using, the layout, it's going to be pretty sick. We've got a background for these screens now, something I've been trying to do. It took me about 3 months to try and see if I could do it. It took Adamo Rimoli 10 minutes. Go figure. But no, that is DSN. You're going to be seeing a lot of content from us in the upcoming weeks, months, and just how far we go with this thing. But I thought I had to introduce it as the host of this show. But the host of this show today is none other than Evan Davis. Evan, kick tires on this bad boy. We have a big episode to talk about. Leafs is a big one today. Take it away.
All righty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of the Leafs Line podcast, now with Dynasty Sports. I'm your host for today's inaugural episode. I feel so honored. Evan Davis. I'm joined with the brains behind it all, Mario Russo, Adamo Rimoli, and Jared Rotenberg. And guys, it's only fitting that we start off by bashing the Leafs for what was a very rancid performance, to say the least. 5-2 loss to the Montreal Canadiens in a game where the Leafs didn't show up until the third period, to say the least. Just a lot of bad defensive errors, not a lot of offense. And when they did get offense, just weren't able to capitalize on it. Mrazik gave up goals that he just shouldn't be giving up. I would say a few on him and then a few on the defense as well. But guys, it wasn't pretty to watch that game. I got a little bit of flashbacks to the game against St. Louis. You know, TJ Brody and Morgan Riley have just been atrocious these last two games. I think Morgan Riley is a -6. He had -3 in both of the games versus St. Louis and Montreal. I know Jake Muzzin, unfortunately, got hurt, but he was also a -5, I believe, in the two games combined. Just not great from guys that you're paying a lot of money in order to not have those mistakes. But Adamo, I'll start with you on this. Like, any thoughts? I mean, we'll dig deeper, but let's just start first with the defensive side of the game, because it was definitely the hot topic for the Leafs.
Well, plain and simple, it was a shit show. Well, both nights, to be honest. I don't know which game you were referring to, but they both sucked. We'll start with, I guess, tonight, because it's fresh in the brain. I rarely ever agree with the broadcast. I always think these mainstream outlets, I don't think their analyzing is really good, but tonight they were spot on. We couldn't keep them in front of us. They were getting behind us. They were getting 2-on-1s, shots off the rush, and that's the best way of scoring in hockey. It's shots off the rush chances. So the fact that we weren't able to prevent that against the literal worst team in the league, I don't think we're making it like this loss out like how bad it was. This was worse than the Arizona loss, if you really think about it. The Habs are worse. The Leafs objectively were worse. I think the Leafs had a more full roster, but both times Petr Mrazik was in net, which I don't know if we're going to talk about now, but if you're talking defense is stopping pucks. And when stopping chances. And when you don't do that, you need your goalie to stop shots, and he wasn't doing that.
I will say though that this game, similar to St. Louis, a lot of it falls on the defense just not picking up. I mean, if you look at that first goal by Josh Anderson, it's again TJ Brody not picking up his guy. We saw that with him last game with Braden Shen. At that point, Mrazik and Campbell, they can't. I mean, there's only so much they can really do, and when the puck is 3 feet away from you, it's hard to make that save. But Mario, I'll go on to you about the defensive side of the game, which has definitely been the Charlie horse of this team for the last 2 games.
Absolutely. And I didn't get to watch the St. Louis game. You guys all know when you're in Toronto, you don't really get to catch too many Leaf games. And I listened to it a lot on the radio on the way back home down to Bolton. And no, the radio does not do justice to any Leaf game whatsoever. Joe Bowen is calling a terrific game. Nothing on him. They're attacking like crazy, but all I hear is every other minute, oh, St. Louis, puck in front of the net, score, puck in front of the net, score. You can't really put it too much in your head and explain it, but all I'm hearing is in front of the net, and I know what's going to be happening. There's going to be a guy away from it, a guy turning the other way. Nobody's looking at the play, and the puck is behind whichever goaltender is between the pipes. So I guess it was a common theme that transitioned into this game tonight. No defense whatsoever. Jake Muzzin, I mean, you hate to see the guy get injured, but I just don't really want to see number 8 in the lineup, quite frankly. It's getting, I'm not gonna say it's getting bad because it's already been bad. We've already gotten to that boiling point, but right now it's definitely spilling over all over the beautiful carpet that you got in your kitchen. So no, it's a tough thing to watch as a Leafs fan, but no, the goaltending was also a big issue. Mrazik looked like Swiss cheese. Like God, there was not one save made whatsoever.
No,
he could not stop when beach ball for that matter. And him sliding across the crease so often, and just he had no bearings of where he was. It was a horrible game from a defensive standpoint for the Toronto Maple Leafs, from the goaltending, and even the forwards. Let's not give them a little bit of praise. They deserve a bit of a beating right now. Nobody's coming back. The reason why there's odd man rushes because there's 3 forwards stuck in the offensive zone. So it's a full team defensive error, and it doesn't help when you're behind the 8 ball so early like they've been in these kind of games. So nothing to praise the Leafs with tonight. I know they get the 2 goals late, show a little bit of a push, but evidently not enough against the last place team.
They clickbaited us, like that was a 5-0 loss. I don't care.
No, that was I really don't care about those 2 goals. But I was saying to Jared as we were watching the game, I remembered like Austin Matthews had a turnover, and I said like there's just no sense of urgency for him to get back and like possibly stick lift Romanov. Like there was just no energy by Matthews on that play, and you can't have that, especially the leader of your team. I mean, John Tavares is there, but you're looking at Matthews as a 1B. It's just inexcusable. Jared, I had the pleasure of watching it with you, and then you threw me in the gutter. What did you think of the game?
Although that is loud. Hold on.
Oh.
Finally, I just got the feedback back into my mic because earlier I didn't.
Ow.
Let me fix that, and then I'll get to my thoughts on the game.
Please do that.
With the megaphone up in there.
This is a great start. Oh my God.
Oh, now we can't even hear him. Jesus Christ. It is a train wreck.
His mic
in the
is
Rotenberg
batting
household.
1,000.
Man. 1 microphone, 0 Jared. Man.
No.
Let's try it now. Come
Evan's
on.
mic,
Show me live.
Evan's mic in Jared's house is
And
this is incredible.
Just for context, Evan not only is using a mic, Jared is a couple floors upstairs and the mic's not even working.
Using AirPods.
When at Jared's, mics are not alive.
They're not your friends.
Jared, are you
media students
you kicking
for you?
Media students for you? Well, I think we'll we'll work around Jared.
We'll work around.
I do want to mention one thing.
Now? Okay, Mario, you mentioned your one thing.
I do want to mention one thing, and me and Jared were talking about it. We were going back and forth about it a couple weeks ago in our last show when the Leafs faced off against the Hurricanes, and we saw so much defensive plays coming from the whole entire group. The players were all rushing back. That was something that I noticed most prevalent in that Leafs game. What a week can do, man! Like the full turn, it's no consistency whatsoever. That's been the storyline with this Maple Leafs team.
I'll interject though by saying that. And Jared and I were talking about this during the game. Is that the Leafs play down to their opponents too much? Like if you notice, like. I didn't think they played like they definitely didn't play bad against Pittsburgh. I mean, they won 4-1, but it's not like their goals were fluke goals. But you bring up like I just think they play down, and that's not a good situation to be in. Jared, get to you on. You could talk about St. Louis, Montreal, just in general. Talking about the defense here, it just hasn't been great.
Yeah, well, it's both. It's defense and it's goaltending that have just been atrocious. Tonight, looking at Petr Mrazik's save percentage, he was below an 800 save percentage tonight. He was a 792, which is absolutely brutal. So he was horrible. He did not play well whatsoever, but the defense in front of him did no favors. That TJ Brody, Morgan Riley pairing, as you mentioned, they were -6 in their last 2 games. They were horrible against St. Louis, and they followed that up again with a horrible game in Montreal tonight. In general, just haven't been good enough. And you guys pretty much nailed everything. I mean, offensively, a lot of the chances I found we were getting, even though we outshot them by a lot, we were getting a lot of chances like from the boards where we were just firing shots on net that were super meaningless and just brutal shots on net overall. And in general, just was not a good game whatsoever. And against one of the last place teams in the league where it was on the line in that game. That's the opponent that came back from a 3-1 lead against us last playoff. So there was a lot of pressure to win this game and show up with a good performance. And we played horrible. We played down to our opponent, and it was just a brutal game overall. No one gets a check mark on this one. Defense wasn't good enough. Goaltending wasn't good enough. Offense wasn't good enough. It was bad overall.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, I think Austin Matthews, William Nylander, they look non-existent in tonight's game. I know Nylander had that goal against St. Louis. It was a beautiful shot last game, but tonight I think he definitely looked non-existent. John Tavares, like, that man hasn't, I think he had 1 shot on goal tonight. I know he had a streak of like 40 plus minutes without a shot on goal. I mean, that's unacceptable. Like, just even get something on that. Like, like anything, like a dump in. I really don't care. Like, whatever the case may be. But I do want to discuss Petr Mrazik, because definitely a hot topic. 3.8 million through 3 years. He's in the first year of that deal. He's given up 11 goals in 3 games this month. He needs to be that. We were talking about it in our sport media group chat. If you want to cross that one off, but the 1A, 1B has definitely died down as the season has progressed. I think Adamo said it best. It's more of a 1B and an AHL goalie, because I can't even name half of Montreal's starting roster, let alone maybe past 5 guys on that team. I didn't even know who the goalie was until 2 days ago. But I think the one issue is that Petr Mrazik, similar to the Leafs, has been inconsistent. He had a great month. I think it was in January, or maybe it was January. He wasn't giving up a lot of goals. He had the 1 goal against New Jersey. He gave up, I think, 1 against the Islanders, 2 against Arizona. Like, wasn't giving up a lot. But this month, and he's had prior months too, where it's just been terrible. I'll start off with you, Mario. What are your thoughts on Mrazik? And I'll throw out a question here. Do you see the Leafs moving him? I mean, we just saw Jake Muzzin go down. We were talking about LTIR as a possibility that allows the Leafs to possibly move Petr Mrazik at the deadline and grab another goaltender. I mean, they're in February. They got to compete, and it doesn't look like Petr Mrazik's going to help them compete.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we're going to touch upon Jake Muzzin and everything a little bit down the road. But in regards to Petr Mrazik, if you're going to deal him, and I'm not saying deal him or anything like that, but it's getting close to that point where you got to start thinking about it seriously. I know we were all joking about it earlier in the year. Yeah, it's a couple rough patches. He hasn't played as much. He's always hurt. The durability is always going to be a concern. But you have to, there you go. But you have to start thinking here about actually seriously considering if you want to let go of this guy, because he's making, I think it's 3.3 around there.
3.8.
3.8. Yeah, so
almost
it's
4.
Almost 4th, which is something
for 3 years.
For 3, exactly. It is not a great contract by any means. And the Leafs, so recently, and we'll touch upon it later, have had success getting rid of bad contracts that are looking to be bad contracts on their team. So you have to be careful, because you're going into a stretch where if Campbell, who is your starter, and I know he hasn't really played of it as of late, but he is your starter nonetheless. If he goes down and you don't have Mrazik there, Joseph Wall is that guy. What if this happens in the playoffs? I'm talking about trading a goalie for a goalie, not trading Mrazik for like an offensive or defensive player. I'm saying you get a goalie in return. Well, what goalie are you going to get in return that's going to this is my personal thing. If I'm Kyle Dubus and I want to get rid of Mrazik, I take just Joseph Wall. I take that gamble and I use that money to spend it on better parts up front or on the back end.
You know what I'd do? Maybe not what I'd do, but what you can consider doing. You guys aren't gonna like this.
Well,
No,
it's
I'll
your
love
take.
it.
We
I'll
never
love
really
it.
do.
Yeah, you never really do. Mikko Koskinen. Oh, you guys get all. Mikko Koskinen has 1 year left. Here's my thinking. 1 year left, meaning he's an expiring deal, meaning we can go get a new goalie next year, and he's making like in and around. I think he's making 4, so the salaries pretty much cancel out if you want them to.
I think Koskin's making a little bit more.
Whatever, they're in and around the same. I know that. It's just Koskinen has 1 year left, and it's this year. And you just kind of pray Jack Campbell returns to being a good goalie, because you're not going to go get a starting goalie now. The playoffs, you usually ride one goalie.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
you might as well get
I
out
mean-
of that contract while you can, and then have an NHL caliber backup as your backup for 1 year.
Yeah. The issue with that is, one, Koskinen makes 700,000 more, and he also has a 15-team no trade list. I don't know how the hell he pulled that off, but
15.
That's
man.
a lot. What the
Jesus.
I
fuck?
don't know how his
This guy does not
his
like the
agent-
bars in some cities.
His agent needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Like, how?
Or he just kind of fleeced Ken Holland. I think he signed his deal after like 20 NHL games.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, like I don't know how much of an upgrade Mikko Koskinen is.
It's not. It's
over-
probably a
He's a
downgrade.
backup though.
It's
then
probably a
If
downgrade.
you're thinking that is a downgrade, then I don't see why you would get a downgrade, and then you're also increasing 700 grand in cap space. Like, that just doesn't.
No,
seem-
you find a way around it. Edmonton retains 700K.
No,
or
yeah.
you find another team to retain 700K.
Yeah,
give them a
I just-
conditional sixth, whatever.
Look, it's definitely a possibility, but if you're looking at it from the Leafs standpoint, it's like, does this guy really? Because Koskinen's had his fair share of games where you're just like, how do you not save that? And
Well, so does Koskinen. So does Mrazik. So
no, I get that. No, I'm just
you know?
saying, like, if you're already looking at it that way, I don't see a trade really like.
it's
making-
garbage for. Well, I want to call Mrazik garbage because he hasn't been that
Well, that's
garbage.
fair.
He's just been kind of. But like
Yeah.
you're trading. It's more trading contracts. I'm thinking long term when moving
I'm trying to think
Mrazik,
of a goalie.
because you're not going to short term fix it. If you want, go get a backup that. I don't know what team was trying to trade their backup goalie, man. I think
Yeah,
we're
it's
kind
a
of
weird
screwed.
situation.
And
There are no-
Koskinen would be the only one, if you think about it. There's probably
Yeah,
not many other
'cause-
ones.
It's
I was
ironic
thinking
too,
of-
because Edmonton's in the goalie market. They're looking to add a goalie to upgrade from their guys. So
Yeah,
that's
so
what
I
makes
mean,
them even
like,
more interesting. With
Sometimes a
Koskinen.
change of scenery,
Oh, for sure.
can fix Koskinen. I don't know. The Edmonton media has been
Yeah.
a total asshole to him. Goaltending's really up in your head,
Mm.
and
No,
who
I mean
knows?
it definitely could happen. Kind of wanted to let me just look at my notes real quick. I mean, we talked about the defense. We can also dissect. We're talking about trades here. Jake Muzzin obviously goes down with what was a scary injury.
Did you guys see that update on Muzzin?
Yep. Yeah, I think he's
What is
staying the
it?
night in Montreal, heading to the hospital, I believe.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me that that's the case, even if it's not serious, just protocol wise. But, nothing Chris Weidman could do on that. Like, obviously, a guy that's known for being a complete douchebag in the NHL. It's just Jake Muzzin lost an edge in any, like, as any person would do, and Chris Weidman just reacting in general. Like, it's not like he did anything that added to Muzzin's injury. It was kind of just like he saw someone flying at him, so he tried to, protect himself. But it could pose the question that we had discussed earlier, which is, do you see Jake Muzzin going on that LTIR? Obviously, trade deadline, a month away. I don't know how much salary is retained when you go on LTIR, but I know it would at least be enough for the Leafs to make some sort of move here.
I was I was trying to say all of it. All of it's on.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's all
5.5.
that's all 5.5 million. So that makes things interesting, depending on where, how long Jake Muzzin could possibly be out for. And even if he's not severely hurt, I think it would just be better for the Leafs in general if they could use that money and get someone. I mean, Jacob Chikrin or someone like that. He makes 4.5. I know people have thoughts about that, but Klingberg also could be a possibility. Like, his contract right now, I think is also like in the $5 million range.
Yeah.
Guys like that, like Jared, could you see, even if, let's say, Muzzin's out for only a week, we've seen this with Kucherov, who needed surgery. Could you see the Leafs making a move possibly for one now? Could they now be in the market for one of these top defensemen? Obviously, Josh Manson said I don't want to go there, but I mean the market. I've never seen it this high for defensemen.
Definitely a possibility. I mean, not that you ever want to hope for any injury. It's super scary that an injury happened, but of course, we can definitely kind of utilize it. Like an extra $5.5 million is an asset that we can now use and help us to go after a big defender. So it's something that you could consider, but I still think at the end of the day, you have to look at the health of your player first and consider, like, I don't think, let's say he's good to go next game. I still think he plays next game. I don't think Dubus is completely going to say, okay, we're using this, you're not playing the rest of the season. I don't think that's a decision he's making right now. But depending on how Muzzin's doing in the hospital, obviously, we're going to still wait to get more updates because it's a head injury. It's very scary. And we don't know what 100% his story is going to be health-wise. But it's something that he's going to consider if Muzzin really is going to need some time to heal from this. Then maybe he decides, you know what, you're done for the season. We're using that extra $5.5 million, put you on LTIR. And that would instantly make the Leafs a team that doesn't have the cap space to go after a big fish to one of the biggest fishers in this year's trade deadline. So it would definitely shake things up a little bit. And it's absolutely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, wait, does the salary cap apply in the playoffs or
No?
Oh, then fucking put him on LTIR. Like Jared, I get what you're saying that like if he's healthy, he's gonna play. I don't think Muzzin has been that exceptional for the Leafs that like they really need him to jump in next game if he's healthy. I almost do think it is beneficial to trade a guy like Nick Robertson, a pick, and something else to go after John Klingberg. Because if you have John Klingberg pairing up with Morgan Riley, or if you can even, balance out your decor to have John Klingberg be your second line defenseman, I think that makes the Leafs exponentially better. And it could make Petr Mrazik better. It can make Jack Campbell better. It can make guys like Austin Matthews even more exceptional, just given the offensive upside with a guy like John Klingberg. Adamo, I'll go to you. You're the stats guy here.
Hell yeah.
Does it make sense for? I think this makes perfect sense for LTIR and then tackle someone.
Well, glad you asked, and this actually segues into more plugging DSN. We actually do articles there, and I just wrote one on trade deadline pieces, and one of them was Mark Giordano. Why does this make sense? Well, Muzzin's down. He's making 6.75 for one more year. Right, he's a UFA after this, so it'll probably be a rental, or he might even re-sign here because he's from here, which would make sense to finish out your career here. He's a 38-year-old guy. He's not a point-a-game defenseman, but he's actually putting up some pretty solid defensive results in Seattle. He's good at suppressing the opposition's chances, which is something the Leafs clearly need. And he's an old veteran presence, because that matters. It sucks to see Muzzin go because you're talking about head injuries, and it's been injuries the entire time. Obviously, no speculation, but it's fully like we don't know how severe it is. Like by the time it comes out,
he was able to get up on his
own,
own,
he walked and he got off, but we know back in that Columbus series he went down, stretchered off. Game 7 Montreal, I think it was his knee. Concussion this season, again, really bad hit to the back of the head. And he's not getting any younger. I think he's 34 now, 33. So yeah, he's an old
Where
dude.
have I been?
Oh yeah. So I'm not gonna say you're looking at like this could be the end of his career, but it's gonna be really hard for him to return because he hasn't been the same since that Montreal series where he was never a great skater to start with, but goodness me, it's not good.
To your point, I found the physicality within his game way back before all this injury started plaguing his time in the lineup. I thought he was a terrific ad for the Maple Leafs when they got him, just because he brought that physicality that he was brought in to provide. But ever since that, with injury, you name it, you haven't seen the same thing. And I think it's unfortunate because we're talking about head injuries, and you just know how scary they can be. And there's some loyalty. I always try to connect with players. Muzzin's been around in Toronto for quite a little bit now. He's grew with this team. So there's been a loyalty ties. Woodstock boy as well. Yes.
Which
No,
is in
but he's grown with this team. The identity of this team has shifted drastically since he's been here. So it's going to be a tough thing to see if the Leafs and Kyle Dubas do go this route. But with the way it's going, this is the tough decision that a GM has to make. Kyle Dubas has been pretty bang on money making decisions this year. This is going to be probably the toughest one he has to make. And it's going to be interesting to see which way he swings, because you're going to get immediate cap relief, as we've mentioned, and you could use it for such great things if you want to put your chips in like that. So interesting storyline to follow. You obviously don't want to wish to see it on a player, but I think Muzzin just outlived his time in Toronto, and in a very sad way nonetheless.
Yeah, and Adamo, I agree. Like Mark Giordano would be great. I just think the whole veteran presence. I think the Leafs already have enough of that. You look at guys like John.
I hate that term, eh?
So do I.
Yeah,
Veteran presence means nothing.
But GMs fucking love it.
I don't know
I know.
why. I do not.
I know they get
So
aroused by.
Because you know what? I think GMs can relate to older guys. They can't relate to the new generation because there's such a difference between older guys and
Kyle
younger guys.
Dubas is relatively.
That's
young for a
ironic,
GM.
too.
That's true, and that's why I don't think he will.
Like,
but
Dubas
he's also,
is like 5 years older than
but
like some.
Dubas is also like Dubas is the youngest guy in the organization. Like Brandon Pridham's Pridham's probably in his 50s. Shanahan's in his 50s. Tannenbaum's God knows he's probably in his 70s.
Like Spez is older than Dubas.
Yeah. But like
it,
even GMs
whatever.
around the league though, these guys. Fucking Jim Rutherford's. Is he in his 80s? He might be in his 80s.
His like 60s or 70s.
There's no way he's in his.
He's
60s,
in his 70s. At
He's
least.
got to be his 70s at least.
But what I wanted to say to your point about Giordano, I don't think it would be worth it for the Leafs, because if they do want to make a run here, I don't think targeting a 38-year-old defenseman is the way to go. And it's just about durability. You're playing every other day, and obviously the older you get, the harder it is for your legs to revive after every game. And I think a guy like John Klingberg can provide similar to Mark Giordano, and he can also. John Klingberg's also a dog. Like, that dude will fight if he needs to, and he'll also make the big hit if he needs to. I think the Leafs will obviously probably not be able to re-sign Klingberg, just given he wants 8 times 64. But to have him at one crack, I mean, it's like Nick Robertson isn't able to crack your lineup. He's not really. I don't see him in the long-term plan, and by long-term I mean the next 3 years. So why not try to go after a guy like Klingberg and then you bring back Muzzin for the playoffs, and then you send down Hall. He doesn't have to play in the playoffs, and then now your D-core is looking a lot more interesting and almost like a lot more scary defensively. I think it would be more beneficial to acquire a younger. John Klingberg's 28, I believe, so. Just a little bit younger, more to the play style of the Leafs with guys like Marner, Matthews, Nylander. Speaking of defensemen, though, we did witness a trade right in the middle of the Blues game. Kind of ironic, after they gave up a bunch of defensive goals that were not on Campbell. And then tonight we see Mrazik pooping the bed, and all of a sudden Carter Hutton's a Leaf. So looks like Kyle Dubas is like, all right, whatever position is next. I still
go.
Yeah, if Matthews has a bad game, I'm sure they'll trade for a forward within the next 48 hours.
I sent a text to our here. Now you can check it off the
now it's
official. I
official.
sent a text to our group chat saying we are not going to talk about the Carter Hutton trade because nothing happened.
He's still playing
in
Tuscany.
Arizona. He's
literally still playing for. We just happen to have him now. That's it. We can call
so
him
it's
up.
like they have his rights, but he still plays for the Tucson Roadrunners.
If Carter Hutton plays a game for the Maple Leafs,
Pigs will fly.
Know.
Pigs will fly.
No,
that would be us on our 4th string goalie. That's
maybe even 5th.
What would happen to the steal of a contract in Joseph Woll? What happens there?
It's in jeopardy at that point.
That's why that's an inside joke. But if we want to get back on,
all right, we can talk about Elie Labushkin. Who was?
I saw a tweet that I'm going to say first. When Elie Labushkin says, when he rocks a hab or he just makes a big hit, you're going to say, Ferme your Elie Labushkin. Ferme Labouche. Ferme Labushkin. Get it? French. I'm not here for my comedy. Take it away, Evan.
It was a great attempt.
I thought it was
man.
funny.
It was
It
great
was
If
attempt.
I knew how to pronounce French
Yeah.
words, it would have been funnier. The tweet was funny. Okay.
No, yeah, but Elie Labushkin, obviously a lot of guys haven't heard about him, including myself. Didn't know he was in the NHL until about 48 hours ago, because he plays for the Arizona Coyotes, who played for the ASU Devils. But Elie Labushkin, based on the stats, and Adama will get into it, is a shutdown defenseman who just doesn't get talked about because he's playing in a market with no media. But it's definitely an improvement
fans.
for the Leafs, I believe. Yeah, or fans. I believe he could play tomorrow against
Tomorrow
Columbus.
he's going to meet
Yeah,
the team.
Columbus.
I don't know what that means though.
Yeah, so meet with the team. Possibly doesn't play. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play. But I mean, the Leafs have him, which is a huge upgrade. I see a guy, we talked about this, I see a guy like Justin Hall getting moved. Whatever value you can get for him at this point is good value. I think the tag of being a right-handed defenseman means jack shit with him. I remember, I think it was Justin Hall that like tried to do a pass to Matthews, and Pitlick went in on a breakaway. Like
Yeah, in this game.
that was the stupidest, like that
Blue
shit
line's a
you see,
curse.
like no, you see that shit like in Pee-wees, like when you're 8 or 9 and then you figure it out. Like
Yeah.
you don't do a drop pass with pressure on the blue line.
Yeah.
Like
I
that
mean, we're
was
the
just
Toronto Maple Leafs against the Montreal Canadiens. I think we
No,
do
I mean-
draw passes. We're
No,
known for
I mean,
that.
yeah. Yeah,
James?
I was just like, if that just doesn't add more to the rock getting chipped of Justin Hall needing to be moved,
Yeah.
like I think bringing in Labushkin definitely chips off a huge piece, and then Hall definitely didn't help himself tonight. Adama, I'll shut up and get into the stats because you pull stuff from Narnia, so you take it away.
I guess. Well, I was gonna like just interrupt there and say Justin Hall. Justin Hall might be one of the luckiest men on this planet. And y'all, again, you're all why?
If he
He's
wasn't
lucky he's
left-handed.
right-handed. You fucking hit it right on the head. He is so lucky he is right-handed. Because if that man shot the hockey stick like this, I don't think he sniffs the NHL. I could, especially not this season. Maybe like the first 10 games of last season where he like held McDavid pointless that one time. That's it. That was it. It's been a mess, but don't worry. The big Russian bear is here. Elie Labushkin, Ilya
I love that
squared.
nickname.
We have a second Ilya. How awesome is that? I love calling Ilya Mikheyev Ilya. It's just I love that name. And now we have an Ilya
Great
on the
name,
back
and now
end.
we have 2.
Oh, it's gonna be fantastic. But to talk about him, he's exactly what we need, and he's not gonna provide any offensive value. Like the numbers don't say it, they very don't say it, and his eyes, the eye test doesn't say it. I really tried to do my research on this because I looked at Labushkin earlier in the season as like a trade piece because he was making 1.4 right-handed defenseman with always solid, good defensive numbers. But when I mean he doesn't have any offensive upside, I quite literally mean he cannot move the puck, nor can he can kind of move the puck. He's meh in transition, but like he's not going to score a goal.
Yeah,
And
one goal in 180.
I'm happy
games.
about that.
And I
I'm
don't
happy.
care. I don't care. He's great defensively.
Mhm.
I think he's going to play. I think his optimal partner is probably Sandin. I think that'd be a perfect pairing just because they're both two pretty physical guys. They're not going to like maul you, but they're physical. Sandin's more offensive puck moving, while Labushkin that stay at home right-handed presence at the back end. So that's probably going to be a pairing. I was going to say Muzzin Liljegren in our top 4 because Liljegren's been fantastic. Actually, it's a guy we didn't talk about in the Montreal game tonight. I thought he was our
he
best
was for
player.
sure the best Leaf.
He was unreal. He was making Liljegren.
Liljegren.
Oh my god,
looked
I was telling
great.
Jared, he looked like Matthews. Like
He looked
carrying the puck down
fantastic.
in the
Well, he was
zone.
just
I was like,
confident. Like he was
Yeah,
actually
skating
flying, which
through
is weird.
guys. He was
like, bringing the puck around the net, trying to find any offensive abilities, which there was
he was trying to
none,
spark
but
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
I really liked his aggressiveness. I think I mean, you can continue.
Oh, I wasn't gonna say. I don't want to like steal the show. Like I was just gonna
No.
like the partnerships. I think are probably gonna end up being probably. I don't know what's happening now with Hall, Dermott, Muzzin, Liljegren. Fuck, we have a lot of question marks on the back end here.
Can I ask you a question?
Say it.
Who has the most pressure on them as a defenseman for the Toronto Maple Leafs right now since this move was made?
Justin Hall.
I'm gonna say Travis Dermott.
I agree with that.
because
I
I
agree with that as well.
seriously think I think Dubus still. I don't know, man. I'm gonna flip flop. I'm gonna say Justin Hall because that's
Well,
the
if
easy answer. I think
I
that's
could
the
have a
right
reason
answer.
for
Yeah,
Dermott.
say
Like,
it.
it seems like Dubus and Keith like want. It's like when you want your kid to get on the bike and ride it, but
Yeah.
he keeps falling off.
Yeah,
They're sticking the
Like-
square peg in a circle.
Like like
With
they
who?
want Dermott to do
Justin,
well.
Yeah.
sorry, Dermott.
Like they want Dermott to do well. He's a young talent. Like he's like this is his time to shine. But
yeah.
I think he
I-
sat
I-
out three.
I
of the
remember when
last
they were
5.
trying to pair him up with Riley a couple years ago. They wanted to make that work, and then he just skyrocketed down took a nosedive down the lineup.
Well,
and
yeah,
He's
got
a
bounced.
lefty, never played right. Like that's a big deal, man.
Oh,
That's a
for sure
really
it
big
is.
deal playing on your off wing. You're just saying, hey, man, you're gonna go play 25 minutes a night against the teams. You're gonna be the shutdown guy too, because we know sure as shit it's not gonna be Riley. You're gonna go play 25 minutes a night against Connor McDavid. Have fun. Good luck. Can't do that. Especially with
your
a young guy.
offside.
Yeah, and you're on your upper wing. Good luck. That's one thing I think Dermott doesn't get enough credit for either. He can do anything, man. I think he can play PP2 if we seriously were in a pinch. He kills penalties. He could play right side in the top 4. He can play left side in the top 4, left side, right side in the top 6, which is why they need to keep him because he has 2 years at 1.5, which is maybe not the greatest, but I don't think it's bad at all.
No.
The bad one would be the guy making $2 million for literally being right-handed. I'm right-handed. What? Pay me, man.
Pay him.
God.
Pay him.
Pay me.
For
Pay me.
sure.
I'm willing to bet I'm a better stick handler than Justin Hall.
Yeah.
You think?
I mean,
Probably.
like some of the moves he made today were
You put a
just
couple through my
like-
What the
legs.
fuck is he doing? Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. The
bangled
pressure
my
has to
Russo.
be on him because it's like
And,
he's probably
yeah.
putting his apartment up for lease right now, thinking like, shit, like I'm cooked in about a month.
I heard Dubus in, I guess it was an interview, but I sent it to you guys. I don't know if you guys watched it, but it's basically Dubus saying, Elie Labushkin brings things that we don't
Oh
have.
yeah, you told
We have a top 4 right-handed defenseman who's a big physical presence, can move guys out of the way. And I'm thinking,
That is a backhand.
wasn't this
to the
supposed
right
to be
cheek.
Justin Hall?
Yeah, that
and
was. I remember you saying
He
that.
straight up said, we don't have any of that, which is making
Mhm.
me think he might have opened his eyes to Justin Hall. And I think Travis Dermott has been great. Not great, but I think he's been adequate. Like we haven't been, pulling our hairs out at Travis Dermott versus Jake Muzzin. It's logical. Dermott is younger.
Yeah.
He is on a better contract. He can do more things.
Mhm,
The only negative is that he shoots left-handed.
mhm.
For all those reasons, though, that's why I think Dermott's more likely to go, just because I think he's more valuable to another team. And for that reason, he's maybe being shopped around a little bit because I think a team would
No.
a lot sooner.
I don't need
Travis
value
Dermott.
back for Justin Hall, though, man.
Yeah,
Like, he's an
that's what I'm saying,
expiring
like, any
deal. We're
value is
probably
good
not going to bring him
value.
back. We're probably not going to bring him back, to be honest.
Yeah, like at this point, any value is good value for Justin Hall. Like even if it's a 3rd round pick, it's like whatever. Like at least he's off our hands because the Leafs have a lot of defensemen, and Justin Hall should not be one of their
He's
question marks.
objectively our 8th defenseman.
Yeah, like I
making
would
$2
put
million.
Liljegren, Sandino over
Yep,
him. I would put
easily.
Dermott over him.
Easily.
I would. I
And
mean,
then
I
our
can't
top
even think
3,
of
Riley
any.
Brody Muzzin,
So what's
Liljegren,
that?
Sandin, Labushkin at 6, Dermott 7, Hall 8.
Yeah,
I don't even know
I
who
mean,
our
yeah,
9
you're
would
right.
be, but
Yeah,
can't-
I mean,
can't-
it doesn't
can't-
matter at that
Many.
point.
I
but
do.
I think
I
this confirms one of them are getting traded. Go Mario.
Yeah,
no,
definitely does.
I do absolutely hear what Jared's saying. The value that you could fetch, and it's obvious because you've said Adamo, he's just so much more. He's versatile. He's playing the left side, and he's absolutely trying. You can see that he's been trying to play successful on the left side when he's the wrong hand. So there's everything that any other opposing team that you're trading with would want. But you hit the nail on the head when you're saying he's younger. There's more upside with him rather than Justin Hall. And I'm sure the stats can definitely back this up on him. But I'm a big eye test guy. You guys all know it. I see him always not in the front of the net or getting beaten or something happening.
No, yeah.
It's even from last year when he was having a decent year, he improved all that stuff, and then just a nosedive this year. So
Yeah.
I'm happy with anything except future considerations. Because do we even find out what a future consideration is? When do you when do
Yes, I
when do
actually
you
know
find
this.
out about it?
Future considerations aren't actually what you think they are. They
I need to hear
aren't.
it.
They aren't actually. Oh, you're going to get a player to be named later. Future considerations can literally mean, hey, Justin Hall's available. Do you want him? And you go to Arizona first. That's part of the stipulation.
Yeah.
That's future
Yeah,
considerations. It's a
and
handshake deal.
yeah. Just to wrap up like the talk, we'll get into other teams on the podcast. I just want to say, like, when you're the Leafs and you're in win now mode, I think like just trading Hall for whatever you can get is a lot more beneficial than trading Dermott, because it's not like the Leafs are in a rebuilding situation where they're trying to figure out who can we get the most value without it absolutely killing us. I think just Justin Hall in general kills the Leafs, and we saw it defensively. I mean, you get paid to play defense, and Stevie Wonder could do a better job at defense. But anyway, let's segue over to the Vegas Golden Knights, who they finally got a taste of Jack Eichel these last 3 games. Vegas, unfortunately, they went 1-1-1 in these 3 games. Eichel, on the other hand, he does have 3 points, 1 goal, 2 assists. We were talking about last week how how a team like Vegas would look fully healthy. It's difficult because like they're building, like guys like Stevenson and Eichel are building chemistry right now. We saw Eichel's first goal was a nice backdoor pass by Chandler Stevenson against San Jose. But I mean, obviously, once Mark Stone gets healthy, Stevenson isn't going to be on that top line with Eichel. So it's a little bit of a confusing situation here. The one thing that Adamo pointed out is that the Vegas Golden Knights have the 3rd easiest schedule remaining. 20 of their 31 remaining games are against teams currently not in the playoff picture. So, they do have a very good chance of retaking Calgary, who's winners of 10 straight. I mean, they've been hot as shit. Like, they're just unbelievable. But Vegas has a great chance still of retaking that first place lead. I'll go to you, Jared. I don't know if you saw any of Eichel's time with Vegas. Actually, an interesting conversation with a Buffalo Sabres fan, and I'll get into that later about Eichel and what his thoughts were, because I was curious to hear. But Jared, I'll get into your thoughts about the trade. I wrote an article about this on Dynasty
on
Sports
DSN.
Network. Check it.
Link in the description.
Link in the description.
Point to it, everyone. Go on.
Right there, down there.
Perfect.
First of all, I'm going to say, to be honest, I haven't watched a lot of the Vegas games. However, I did watch the highlights after, and he looks like classic Jack Eichel, even though he isn't absolutely running up the score. I mean, in 3 games, he has 3 points, so that's solid. He buried a goal, so that's good. And it doesn't look like the surgery held him back majorly. I mean, he's on the top unit in Vegas, and the fact that he's still able to put up offensive production is good. I'm sure someone who actually watched the Vegas games will tell me, oh, but he's still not doing this well. He's still not doing this well. And of course, I'm going to wait till Evan brings those factors up, because I'm sure maybe he isn't absolutely what someone settled into the season will be. But just at the start of the season, in his first 3 games where he's behind everyone else who's already settled into their year, the fact that he's still putting up offensive points is a good sign from him. And it shows that he is still a valuable and a player that's capable of being one of the most elite guys in the league. And I mean, back to the trade, I said it at the time, Buffalo should have gotten more. I mean, they gave up, sure, there was risk associated with Eichel, but I mean, Jack Eichel at his peak is capable of being one of the most dynamic, one of the best players in the NHL. And you have to think he's going to flourish on that Vegas Golden Knights team. And as much as there's going to be questions with chemistry and whatever, and that's obviously a factor you have to consider, but Jack Eichel on the Vegas Golden Knights is a scary combination, and I can't wait to see how that does later on in the season when it really matters, because he is just such a good player.
Yeah, I mean, the 3 points in 3 games, had 2 against San Jose, 1 against LA, none against Colorado. Granted, it was his first game, but he's definitely getting, a feel for new teammates, obviously spending, it's, I think, like 7 years in Buffalo, I want to say. You got the 3-year entry level and then the 4th year of his 8-year deal. But, he's definitely finding his way into the lineup. Damo, I'll segue to you. We had this debate last week, but it's just an interesting thing. George McPhee loves dishing off his first-round picks. I'm afraid that Brendan Brisson might be next, given the trend that's going on. He's the next first-round pick that was selected. I hope he doesn't, because I'd love to see him in Vegas. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on how Eichel has been, integrating into this new lineup?
So I actually did catch a bit of Eichel's debut. It was the night of Canada being the United States, because of course, Jack Eichel actually took 2 penalties in like the first period. It was like it was weird,
No, like
like a high sticking.
first half of the game.
Oh yeah, I think it was first period, second period, but it
Yeah.
was just oh no way he's in the box. But yeah, he's like maybe not the first game, but that's not expected. He's been good though. Like 3 points in 3 games. He's been buzzing like he is Jack Eichel. He's not 100% there. I think any Vegas fan will tell you he's not. But that's expected. He hasn't played a hockey game since. Did he even play last year? I think he played last year.
Yeah, I think his last game was like
it was like in April or some shit.
Yeah, something like that.
He played. Maybe it was like might have been even like March, but when the Sabres were on that losing streak. But no, I think I crap on Vegas because I like Calgary so much, but that's not a disrespect to Vegas, because I still think Vegas is a phenomenal team and they're a phenomenally built team, because come playoff time, they're going to have, in my opinion, like a top 5 winger in the league in Mark Stone, and then a guy who Tamario is better than Austin Matthews as your center. I don't know if he still believes that, but the fact that he's in that conversation, he's a fantastic player. And then you still have Carlson, Pacioretty. Your defense could probably step it up. Even your goaltending could probably step it up a bit too. But they've been there twice. They maybe not all of them, but McPhee's been there twice, and I trust what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Jack Eichel. It's gonna take. I mean, I expected the first 5 games to kind of just be like get adjusted. I mean, he's getting the ice time. Averaging about 18 minutes, maybe a little less than that in his first 3 games. So they want the production. Right out the gate. Just taking a look at the standings here, Vegas sits 4 points behind Calgary. I don't know how many games in hand because I'm on ESPN, but I mean, it's still anyone's division there. And, but I mean, like the way Calgary's playing right now and pulling off an incredible win tonight to save my ass on the betting TikTok account because I got grilled for picking Colorado. But Mario, I'll go to you, and then just dissect a little bit more. But Eichel, Vegas, how the hell did it happen? And then after you're done, I want to get into the conversation that I had with my buddy.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I don't really know how it happened because I'm not really in the management group that the Vegas Golden Knights have, but I know what happened from the outside perspective, and that Vegas absolutely destroyed that trade way back when. And I think the Buffalo Sabres should have got way more. And not to say that Alex Tuch hasn't been doing or pulling his weight for the Buffalo Sabres. He's been terrific in his own right. But I mean, he could have got a lot more future capital is what I'm trying to say. In regards to Jack Eichel, if I were to give you guys a math problem from grade 12, do you think you can get it done?
It's definitely not.
Depends.
1000% not.
Depends. Data management, yes. Calculus and anything else I didn't take, so no.
I dropped out of calculus in March, so
I'm a pretty good math student. I think I probably could, but
I'm the opposite of a math student.
Yeah,
I'm such like an English-minded guy. I cannot do numbers in math.
Exactly.
Right,
and
the question,
where I'm trying to go with this is that I haven't done
Probably
math in about a year and a half, and I absolutely no chance can solve a math problem to save my life. There was a gun to my head. You could just at least pull the trigger. So the one thing that I'm trying to say is that Jack Eichel hasn't played a game of hockey in that amount of time since I've been doing grade 12 math or mid grade 12 math. So wait for this guy to come around, because when he does, oh, bello, is it going to be something to behold in the playoffs? It's going to be something to you don't want to mess with the Vegas Golden Knights come playoff time. I know I'm popping their tires a lot. I know they got some other problems to figure out, but when you're looking at that forward group, that top 6, even the bottom 6, the depth's looking pretty solid there as well. Vegas has it all. And
yeah, I would say their top 9, their fourth line is just, I mean, but that's every team's, I mean, their top 9 is definitely something.
Your team is only as strong as its weakest link. So we will see how that
Yeah.
plays out for the Golden Knights. But their strongest links are extremely powerful, and they, I think, are going to be very capable of getting it done in the playoffs. There's not much to dissect about Jack Eichel. Very short sample size. We've seen what he can do in his time with Buffalo. He's one of my favorite players to watch in the NHL. I love watching Jack Eichel. I just like to see him now succeed with a good team and maybe even hoist some hardware come the summertime. Who knows? I'd love to see it for Jack
Possibly.
Eichel. Very fun story for him. Great to see him score as well. So yeah, that's all I really got to say on Jack Eichel. It's not much. We'll talk about it as the weeks go by too.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Adamo was talking about defensively. I mean, Alex Pietrangelo, they signed him in the offseason. It hasn't looked like it's turned out that great. I mean, he's definitely had his spurts of looking like the 7 million that they paid him, but
Wait, it was more
you
than
know,
7 million, my man.
it was how much? 8,
I'm pretty sure it was 9.
9?
It was a
I think
hefty.
so.
It was a hefty.
It was a pretty penny.
Did
I
I
think you mean
know?
7 years. I might be
Maybe
wrong.
7 years?
I could be so wrong, but I'm like pretty sure it was
8
9.
years. Oh, 8.8.
8.8.
Yeah,
There you
8.8
go.
million
Yeah, so
annually.
about 9.
Yeah, was it an overpay? Well, it looked like it. But no, I mean, definitely, I think a guy like Alec Martinez, who has been out for a majority of this year, he's definitely someone who brings so much defensively to this team. He's been an absolute prowess in block shots. But I want to get into this conversation that I had with a Buffalo Sabres fan who I could tell was pretty salty about the whole trade because he was saying how like I wouldn't want like Jack Eichel's a locker room cancer, and it's like I don't really
Very bold.
necessarily think he's a locker room cancer. I think it was the fact that the Leafs, I'm sorry, not the Leafs. Jack Eichel wanted a trade out of Buffalo. Or, I'm sorry, wanted the surgery. Buffalo said no, and he's like, okay, well if you're gonna handicap me and like basically prison me, like send me somewhere else. And I will agree. I think Buffalo did get fleeced, although Alex Tuck in his hometown has been
Doing very well.
absolutely incredible. 21 points in 19 games. I mean, he's just been amazing for them. You know, has really helped them offensively. I hope it's not a fluke because we did see this type of potential in Vegas. He was a great bottom six to have. It was incredible that he was playing even in the top 9 given his talent. But he was saying how Alex Tuck is captain material. And I'm like, I don't know if anyone's giving Alex Tuck the C in Buffalo. And he's like, well, Peyton Krebs has potential. I'm like, well, when Jack Eichel's healthy, he has potential to be a top 5 center in the NHL. So, I'll look at next year's Vegas and I'll say next year Vegas, if everyone is healthy, if they don't make it at least to the Western Conference Finals, I think it's a failed season. I think you're definitely looking at Pete DeBoer and George McPhee, like what happened. Enough with that, though. I want to talk. I know they're a boring team to talk about, but I do want to talk about the Edmonton Oilers because ever since firing their coach, Adamo, I know you didn't want to talk about it. You
I'm
can
kidding.
leave like I did with the Flame talk, but look, they are winners of 5 of their last 6. I believe they're outscoring after last night's shit show. When they were winning 5 straight, they were outscoring their opponents 22-8. That number slowly died down as they gave up as many goals in that game versus Minnesota as they did in the previous 5 games when they played real competition. So what I am going to say, though, is I do think this 5-game heater is getting overlooked a little bit. I looked at the teams that they were playing. It was Islanders, Kings, Ducks, Sharks, Winnipeg, which I guess you can say is an impressive win, but Winnipeg's been so up and down this entire year. They look incredible, and then they look like absolute shit. And then they got absolutely pumped by the only real playoff team they've played. So I'm going to ask this question. Do we view this 5-game heater as sort of like a fluke, just given the level of competition that they did play? And I'll start with you, Adamo, because you were the one who said that you didn't want to talk about this, but maybe this question changes your mind. I was just looking at it schedule-wise. It's not like they went on a 5-game heater beating teams to the caliber level of Nashville, Calgary even, maybe stealing a win versus Pittsburgh or a team like Washington, Boston. They beat the bottom of the pack teams. So I just want to get your thoughts. Like, do we think this is a fluke kind of thing where like they finally play a playoff team and they touch earth again?
I don't know. I think McDavid's actually. I think he's gonna shit on teams the next couple games. And I know that's kind of implied because he's McDavid, but I mean, like hardcore shit on teams, because I was looking at his shooting percentage and it was like drastically low. It was like concerningly low this season. It might have been like, I think he was at like 9% this season, and we know McDavid is better than a 9% shooter. So you could look for that to regress. Like I'm seeing like another like 8 game goal streak, something stupid like that. And to answer your question, the reason I'm talking about McDavid, regressing and, going to what he normally is, because he's their team. And that hasn't changed with Evander Kane. I know Evander Kane's been great and he's a solid addition, but let's be honest, until it's shown otherwise, Connor McDavid and I guess Leon Draisaitl, he's pretty good too, are the Edmonton Oilers.
He's whatever.
Sorry?
He's whatever.
Yeah. I only won like the heart or something. He has like 120 point base, whatever. The issue that I guess I forgot who. I'll touch on another thing. It was some rando in an interview, and I'm actually taking a page out of Jared's book because I was shoveling my driveway, as a good old Canadian kid does, and he plugs his favorite Steve Dangle podcast into his ears. And that is my favorite pastime. I love shoveling snow and listening to podcasts. And it was, I don't know who, some like middle six guy, I think Derek Ryan interview. And he was just saying, it's kind of a backhanded roast towards Dave Tippett. But he was saying, now with the new guys, everyone feels like they have a role. When before it was kind of, here, McDavid and Draisaitl, we know you're the best players, and we're going to play you 30 minutes a night, and the rest of you bums just don't concede, and that's it. But now, apparently it's changing. I can't speak to it. I've watched like a couple games of theirs. I'm not going to lie. Like, not acting like I'm sitting there, watching Oilers games, but they're normally on the late games. So I do have them on my TV. And I don't know. I there's nothing really to talk about. 5-game winning streaks happen, especially when you're playing, what was it, LA, Anaheim,
The California team.
It doesn't even fucking count. It doesn't count as a California road trip when you're literally like a 2-hour flight from them. It's like if we went down to the Leafs they went to play Philly, Pittsburgh, New Jersey.
I get it. Okay, like the California field trip.
Yeah. It's a field trip. There you go. They probably bus down there. But yeah, I wouldn't read too much into it until a bigger sample size happens.
I mean, yeah, it was definitely just something like I was seeing, like, oh wow, like they're dominating these teams, but then you realize like it's teams that they should be dominating given the talent on paper. Guys like Hopkins, Draisaitl, Barry, Nurse, McDavid. The list goes on of what they have and who they have. But Mario, I'll go to you, and then Jared, you can piggyback off what Mario says. Like, fluke, just let's pump the tires a little bit. Oilers still not making the playoffs.
I'm not going to say they're not going to make the playoffs. There's obviously a lot of hockey to play, but I will say one thing. In my hand, I have a baseball. And sometimes when my baseball is in my hand, I throw it to a first baseman. And sometimes it goes in the dirt, and sometimes he doesn't pick it. And sometimes that first baseman gets benched, and it's my wrongdoing. What do I do when it's my wrongdoing? Well, I got a fire lit under my butt, and I'm going to play as hard as I can because I owe it to that guy that I messed up. And I think that's exactly what the Edmonton Oilers are doing. I don't know how many coaches changed. This is actually pretty ridiculous how many coaches we've seen get fired over the course of this season. And you see the response from a lot of these teams when a coach gets fired. And you look at it like the Montreal Canadiens. Deschamps gets fired. I know Montreal's not going perfect or anything, but they're so much better than what they were. And there's only one way up from rock bottom, obviously. But that's another testament to when a coach gets fired, there's just other teams that are they just, something turns on, a switch turns on. I have never had it because I've never had a coach of my own get fired. I've never played at that sort of level, but I know what a new voice in the locker room can do, a new face, it opens your horizons to what you can and cannot do. And you mentioned, Adam, about the roles. I certainly believe that was the exact storyline you pictured with the Edmonton Oilers. It was all just, this is the top six show, more specifically, this is the McDavid and Draisaitl show. See what you can do. And then the bottom six was just avoided. And obviously it's going to affect the morale of your team. So this new coach seems to be having something going with the team. I don't think it's going to be that sustainable. I think this is, like you mentioned, Evan, to answer your question, probably just a fluke. They have the energy going, the adrenaline's there, but no, this is just the reality of sports. If someone, and I'm sure they had a little bit of close connection with Dave Tippett, someone like that gets fired, you you feel like you're responsible and you're going to go out and do what it takes to show that you're actually better than this and you didn't deserve to get another guy fired. So I think just the nature of the beast, man.
Yeah, I mean, we saw this with Vancouver too, how they just went absolutely
That's
stupid.
another one. Absolutely.
They went hot, and now they've kind of like touched the ground again, and
plateaued a little bit.
They just got blown out by Anaheim 7-3. So
wow.
My prediction of them making the playoffs, I said the only way they would make it would be as a second wildcard team, but I'm not proud of having that recorded because it's definitely not aging well. But nonetheless, we do see this common thread where a coach gets fired, a team picks it up, and then sooner than later they're back to being a dumpster fire. But yeah, no, I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that and just the whole situation going on in Edmonton. Is McDavid happy or not? Like, what's going on? Maybe do we see, I'm like brewing hot takes here. I'm just like, do we see another Jack Eichel situation where he goes like, get me out of here? Because you got to think McDavid reaching, I believe he's 20. No, actually he signed a fat.
He's like 20.
He signed a fat contract.
I think he's 20. He's same age as Matthews. So I think
he signed a fat contract with a lot of AAV on it. So it's going to be hard to move that deal if the time.
Oh, I don't think so.
Does. Oh, well, I mean.
He is McDavid. I mean, obviously it'll be a pain in the ass.
Well, a team will trade for him. I'm just saying, like, it might be like just difficult maneuvering. What exactly?
Yeah, some teams won't. Like Arizona probably won't because I don't think they have the they don't have the money. They don't have the money to do
I don't think they're getting a call from Ken Holland.
I wonder. Do you think if Arizona goes, I'll give you every single pick and prospect that I have, including like Dylan Gunther, 1 million first-round picks. Do you think for McDavid, who says no?
Gary Bettman says no. Gary Bettman says
no. I think McDavid says no.
What do you mean?
Because
Gary Bettman would love
no,
McDavid in his precious Arizona.
Damn, you got to think of the player though. Like McDavid says no, not Gary Bettman. It's not even going to get to the point of if Gary Bettman has an answer. It's a matter of what McDavid thinks. But it's just something interesting. We talk about. I'm going to relate it to a different sport, like the NBA. We talk about the greatest players of all time to never win a championship. And you got to think Connor McDavid coming from a winning background with the Barrie Colts, even down to when he was playing in the GTHL. I'm sorry, Erie Idles. My bad. They got similar jerseys. It's so confusing.
I mix them up too. Don't worry.
I apologize. I the same colors. They got to fucking change that. There's your warning. But he comes from a winning background, and I don't think have they won a playoff game yet?
Oilers?
Yeah, he won. He went to the second round.
I thought he went to the conference finals one time.
No, they went second round against Anaheim, and then
Anaheim. That's where they blew it. Yeah.
Oh,
that's jokes.
They actually won. Okay. That was so long ago that I completely forgot.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my point. Is that's the farthest that they have gone with a guy like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on your team, which should be more than enough to get you past the second round each year and not swept last year. I was thinking like, do we see an Eichel situation? Obviously his situation was different just with injury, but you got to think McDavid's like, yo, like I got to win I got to get a ring, like, or else people are not going to they're going to give me credibility, but they're going to look at me in a separate tier.
I kind of wanted to bring this discussion here because I was having like an internal debate about it. Is Connor McDavid that much better than everyone else in the NHL? Like, I feel like at the beginning of the season, we kind of went, yep, McDavid's like up here, and then McKinnon, Draisaitl, and all them are like, they're this close, they're interchangeable. Is it still that big, or is it kind of okay? McDavid's here, Matthews,
Yeah, I mean, like I think McKinnon. It's like McDavid's here, and then you have guys like Matthews,
Matthews
Huberdeau,
is knocking at the door. Huberdeau knocking at the door. Gaudreau this season's knocking at the door.
Yeah, like McKinnon when healthy.
Shit, even Leon, man. There have been like reports that Leon actually has the room there. Like it's Leon's team. Like
that's an interesting. I would not have thought that. I thought it was always Connor McDavid. I thought everything.
From like a vocal standpoint, I feel like Draisaitl's a lot louder of a guy.
Draisaitl plays with. I want to see he plays with more passion, but Like
David's a
you can't-
robot. If you didn't know.
McDavid's
And when he's
quiet.
pissed, it hurts. I feel like he
Mhm.
doesn't play well when he's pissed.
Usually that they play better when they are
Yeah.
upset and frustrated. But I mean, no, it's just like, I mean, obviously no one's going to compare to this, but could you imagine a guy like Wayne Gretzky with no Stanley Cups? Like, I'm not putting
Yeah.
Connor McDavid
Well, in terms
that
of skill, you
same
definitely can.
tier, but I think like,
Yeah.
just to make my
Yeah.
point is like, could you imagine Gretzky without rings? Because he'll have all the other personal accolades, but it's the team accolades that really matter when you're discussing the greatest of all time in terms of generation. Even,
Yeah.
we talk about Crosby 3 rings, Ovechkin finally has 1. I would
I think it's
mention-
gonna happen though. There's no way this guy doesn't win a ring, but I don't think
I
it's
just
gonna be
don't
with
see it.
Ken
It's an
Holland. It's not gonna
yeah.
be with Ken Holland. I'll say that. It could be in
Yeah.
Edmonton. Like if
It could.
if they bring in like just a semi-competent GM,
Yeah.
maybe.
And their core is young. Like Hopkins is young. Like Nurse is relatively still young. Like
young as
they-
in like they're still in their 20s. Yeah.
yeah, like Nurse is like what, 26, 27. You gotta think Hopkins
up
is
there,
around
yeah.
25.
No, Hopkins is a little older than that. Hopkins, I think,
Older,
is 20,
27?
28, 27. Yeah.
Regardless
Somewhere.
of the age, though, all roads lead back to the way this team's constructed. That's just
Horribly.
what's the big
Their
problem with this
goalie
team.
issue.
They got a goalie
They're-
issue. They got a depth issue. It's a new thing every week and more outlined.
I mean,
it's always a defense issue. Like there's just so many.
I think that's the
different.
big one. It's the defense and the goaltending. I don't even think the Oilers' depth is that awful. I just think it wasn't utilized properly.
That's exactly it.
That's-
And I
that's
think
the-
the new
that's
head
the
coach is
biggest-
starting to incorporate.
That's
it
where
now.
coaches
Yeah,
come
that's the biggest
from, right?
difference with Woodcroft is now he's actually making his role players play a role rather than this is McDavid and Draisaitl's team. Which going back to your initial question, talking about like the fluke or no fluke, I'm gonna give the Oilers credit. I think they're playing well, and it's not just they're getting wins under a new coach because they're actually playing a noticeably new style, and
Absolutely.
it's really working. I don't have faith in the Oilers come playoff time because I think there is still those absolutely the flaws in their team where they aren't good defensively, they don't have goaltending whatsoever. But I think regular season, as much as it's gonna trail off because it will. They aren't gonna fucking go undefeated the rest of the season. But I'm not going to actually call it a fluke. I'm going to differ from you guys a little bit because I think they're playing teams in their division. So what do you want them to do? And they're actually playing teams that are currently ahead of them in some cases and are teams that are in playoff spots. So like LA and Anaheim, to say what you want about the roster, they're doing well this season and they're playing well against those teams. So I'm not going to completely take away from the Edmonton Oilers and how good they've done under the new coach, even with strength of schedule not being incredibly high. Because credit to them, they're getting their wins and they're actually playing a noticeably new and a better style and they're properly utilizing their depth. But still, come playoff time, I think they're going to be a good regular season team. I do think they'll make the playoffs. I have no faith in that roster come playoff time. Just the GM, Ken Holland, he needs to step up and get goaltending and defense. It's so clear. A bunch of students could pick out what the problems on that roster are. My little cousins, I was talking to them, they could pick out what the problems on that roster are. Why can't Ken Holland figure out what needs to be fixed on that team? It's so obvious.
Right. You're flat out right.
It's no, I think it's just something we've been running in circles about. It's the same problems with this team. And I hate to say it when they're on a winning streak. I don't even know if they're on a winning streak, but in good terms right now, it's still not a lot of fans. I'm sure Edmonton Oilers their fan base would be the first to call it. They're not really confident in what this team can do come the postseason. And it leads back to the way this team's just formed. And this next offseason is going to be a big one for the Oilers, regardless of the outcome this season. Even if some magical thing happens, they go on a little bit of a run, maybe a little bit of a Cinderella story if they're that bad heading into the playoffs. But there's going to be changes in management for sure. And if there isn't, then you're going to start hearing the cowbells out in Edmonton because it's something they absolutely have to fix. And we're not going to see it till the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting to say the least of what this team is made of and what can possibly happen down the road. It's just, I don't know, it's a weird situation that they're currently in, but I think we'll end it on that. Is there anything else that we want to
it's the dog days of the NHL, so there's not much to
Yeah.
go. Mid-February is a tough one for the Leafs. The Leafs news,
The
and
league,
NHL
man.
news. You want to add anything, Jared?
Well, the one thing I'm going to say that I believe it was Adama who brought the attention to this Mr. Insider over there. There's some talks picking up with Jacob Chychrun into the LA Kings
Mhm.
potentially. Nothing's official yet, but I mean, talks are picking
Yeah.
up there, so that's very interesting. We're definitely
Mr. Davis confirmed
somewhat
Adama's
nearing
insider.
trade deadline season, and it's getting interesting. Obviously, we saw a somewhat big trade when it comes to the Leafs. Not massive, obviously, not a big name that was on many people's radar, but a good guy that the Leafs got. And talks are picking up. Teams are going to start jumping on that. I mean, that, in my opinion, maybe open the floodgates, a somewhat minor trade with the Coyotes, and trades are coming. And the big boys are going to be off the board, I think, sooner rather than later. So it's getting interesting.
Yeah.
out here.
I got a question for you. What would y'all give up for Jacob Chychrun from a Leaf standpoint?
Oh. And then I'll do the
Because
Kings one. I'll
Jake
do the Kings
Muzzin,
one.
yeah. Jake Muzzin. Let's assume Jake Muzzin is out and the Leafs have a hole there. They have a hole at 2 LD, second left defenseman. Let's say they have a hole there and they need this guy. Not need him, but just for the sake of the show, what would you give up for Jacob Chychrun? And while you guys think, I'll just kind of list off, him. He is, I believe, a left-handed defenseman. I don't have anything in front of me, so I'm just kind of talking here. He's a left-handed defenseman, 23 years old. He's making 4.3, is it? I don't have his contract, but
Something like that. It's
making
a
something
very
like that
fair
for 3 years.
contract.
It is very team-friendly. Last season, he put up 41 points in 56 games, 18 goals as a defenseman, which is quite a bit. This season, not quite the same, 11 points in 39 games. Shooting percentages fluctuating like hell. He shot like 9 times better last year than he did this season. So it'll probably end up being somewhere in the middle there. You guys got anything?
I'll kick tires on it. So I was listening I brought this up to your attention, I believe, and I think I might have even mentioned it on the show a couple months ago, but I was driving home from work one day, and one of my favorite shows, Kipper and Bourne, they'd all talk about the Leafs. I'm a big fan of Kyprios. He's kind of the reason why I'm getting a little bit in this industry. He inspired me to do it. Don't ask why, it's a long story. However, they were talking about this Chychrun when all the news sort of situated around this player, and they were saying, well, what would you give up for Jacob Chychrun? Similar to the question that we're about to go answer. And Bourne says Nylander, and it was exactly. I think I brought it up to you guys. It was a ridiculous take.
I don't remember
Are we
Nylander.
still doing this?
This was
Oh
a
my
couple. This was a
God.
couple months ago. Even worse, when he was
This
actually on his
sounds like
heater.
this is so 2018, man.
Oh,
Look at
yeah.
the times.
Oh yeah, and it
I
was
don't remember you
Richie.
bringing up this trade.
not that
And
I
Brady
agree
Montour.
with it or side
Continue,
with it.
though,
I'm
continue,
just
though.
saying what it was. Nylander and Robertson
And
Robertson and a couple
No.
picks in there. And I'm like, holy cow,
For
that is a haul.
Chychrun?
Who's Jacob Chychrun? This guy must be the next coming of
He's
Christ.
not Bobby
And
Orr.
I'm like, no, that's absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to give my spin on it. What do the Arizona Coyotes want right now? They're in a rebuilding stage. They're going to want to have the picks. I think that's inevitable. You're going to have to give that stuff up. And you're going to probably, and I hate to say it, but maybe Robertson's heading the other way. And not to say that the Leafs want to just give off Robertson like he's nothing, but Evan, you pointed this out around the beginning of the podcast where it's like, why he doesn't fit in line with the window that the Maple Leafs are in right now. So you're going to have to give up some young talent. Do I think they should go for Chychrun? Now that's a personal opinion of mine. I don't think that's what's needed. I think go out and get another defensive-minded asset. Like I'm really high on the other big body guy. Maybe I know Ben Schrott's asking for a first. I don't know if the Leafs are going to be the one giving it, but
No.
Dude,
I know
after tonight's game,
he's on
no
the.
chance.
I know he's on the market, and I don't think it's
Dude,
an
he
avenue.
was
But
so
you mentioned
bad
Giordano.
tonight.
I would love to have Giordano on my team. I'm not a big fan of
one
Jacob
of those
Chychrun.
Seattle defensemen. Give me Vince Dunn.
Vince
Kirsten
Dunn was one we
Soucy.
talked
the
about
Vince Dunn
before.
talk.
Dunn, Soucy,
Yeah.
Giordano. Fuck, they don't have a terrible decoy. They just kind of
Yeah.
suck.
And
They're
to
just kinda
answer your question, Rimoli, it's just I think maybe Robertson and a high end pick going the other way to if they're going to get Chychrun. Do I think they're going to have to do it? I personally no, but for the sake of the show, that's what my return is going to be.
Yeah, interesting. Jared, you got anything?
I mean, I definitely am not touching any of our forward core. I'm not sending out a Nylander. I'm not making our team worse offensively in order to get Jacob Chychrun. Because as Mario said, I agree. Like offensive defenseman is not necessarily our area of need, but because he would make our D core better, I would be interested if they were willing to take sure, I think Robertson's going the other way. Let's say a first, a second, Robertson. And I'm trying to think maybe who's like a lower end prospect. Like obviously we have our Namellas, our Nyes, our guys.
Tverberg, Voigt, any of those?
Maybe yeah, like Robertson's the higher end
Ovchinnikov.
prospect, then a lower end prospect as well tied in with him, and then a first and second in let's say like 2023 or 2024. I think that if they're willing to accept that, then I'd maybe consider it. But I do honestly agree with Mario's point. I don't think, especially for a left-handed defenseman, like now just purely talking about tonight because Muzzin just got injured, it makes more sense. But in general, I'd way more consider to get a right-handed defenseman like Klingberg's a guy on the market who I wouldn't say do it just for the reason that he's going to want a big extension, and that isn't something the Leafs have anywhere near enough cap space to take on. However, I think that is more player-wise, more the type of guy we need than a young guy that's sure he's going to be great in a few years and already is pretty great. I mean, he had an unbelievable season last year. I don't think that's necessarily our area of need, though, like a second pairing left defenseman.
And Adamo, do you think this is someone that the Leafs should pursue, or is this more something for the sake of argument to have? Because it is an interesting conversation nonetheless, but I kind of want to hear your thoughts on it, because we're mentioning guys like Giordano, Dunn, and then you're throwing in the conversation with Chychrun. Fully different types of builds and defensemen, but which side do you think the Leafs are going to take if they're going to continue to add this trade deadline?
I doubt they're going to go get him. I don't think a big deal is coming. I just kind of getting Dubus vibes. There's no one really. I guess Chychrun is the big deal, but he's not the big rental that the Leafs are normally after. So I don't think they're going to go after him. But if they were to go after him, which I wouldn't mind. If Jake Muzzin's out, there's a clear hole there. I don't think you could have Rasmus Sandin as your second pair of defensemen. Like then your defensive core becomes like at its best is Riley Brody, Sandin, Liljegren, Dermott, Labushkin. Forgot about him. Yeah, I guess Hall,
so,
whatever.
Yeah. One difference, I'd probably
one of them
Labushkin with Sandin, but otherwise then.
Oh yeah,
you're right.
But still, I don't think Labushkin should be that top four guy because I don't think he's that good. So I think going after him would make sense, and he's been Labushkin's partner this year. Labushkin and Chychrun have been partners, which is a thing to mention. If they were to do it, I was like whipping up a big proposal in my head. This one's going to make y'all laugh. Amarov.
I was going to say, I wanted to mention him. I wanted to hear your thoughts on him.
I think Amarov is more valuable than Robertson.
Yes.
I don't think Robertson plays a single game for the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's my hot take. But I'm going to say Amarov first. Like another good prospect. Justin Hall. Kerfoot.
Oh man.
Holy
for
crap.
Chychrun and Phil Kessel.
I love that just because Phil Kessel's coming. It doesn't even involve Jacob Chychrun. That is a big haul. That is a big haul you're giving up.
Maybe not Kerfoot. Maybe not Kerfoot.
Until you said that Kessel's coming the other way.
I don't think
Are you matching salaries in that? Because Phil Kessel makes a lot.
Trying. Yeah, I don't know how it would work because we're retaining from him, but like if we make him retain, remember, like this is assuming Arizona would retain 50 on
I feel like if you have that, then you got to throw in another pick or something to like at least
take another second. I don't care about picks, man. If I'm the Leafs, I don't know why they're so conservative with their prospects and shit, man. Like
it's really
the one prospect we've given up is Sean Durzi. I can't think of another one that we've traded.
Hey, Sean Durzi.
Yeah, and he's a great player, fine, but like that's what happens when you move prospects. We happen to get Jake Muzzin out of him, who for a point in time was like our number 2 defenseman. So
yeah, true.
The fact that we have this stacked prospect pool, oh my god, we have stacked prospects. Like chances are Nyamala probably doesn't make the team next year, and if he does, he's a number 6 guy. He's going to be like Liljegren up and down guy. So what's the point if we're trying to win now? Robertson probably doesn't have a place in the spot. Amarov's, Lord knows what's going on with Amarov. He's been in like all 3 leagues this year.
He's an interesting cat.
Yeah. Nyes probably does another year in college or the US and I don't know how the fuck it works there, but I'm going to say no, isn't he? He's in college.
He's in college.
He's at
like Duluth or something.
Yeah. He's probably doing another year of college because he's a freshman. So you have all these guys and none of them are going to play on the team. Maybe Nyes plays on the team. He was pretty gross in the Olympics, but or on the
he was pretty.
Well, the
The
Olympics too.
U18.
The U18s. Why don't we move one? Why don't we move
Mhm.
two? Let's go win a cup instead of waiting, because our cup window is
Yeah.
closing. Tavares is not going to get moved in a while. Riley, I think, only shortens our cup window because he's going to fall off probably 3-4 years because he'll be like
Yeah.
32.
Mhm.
Matthews, Marner need to sign. Nylander needs to sign. Let's go for it now. So
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
my
no,
thoughts.
I'll do it. I mean, I'll do it from the Kings'
Yeah, do the
perspective
Kings
because they're
perspective.
definitely. I mean, as much as I piss on them, I think in 5 years they'll definitely be
They'll be back.
back to their contending ways. Hopefully, Rob Blake is gone, so I can actually root for them again. But until then, I boycott them. But I mean, if you're the Kings, I would give up. I'd give up a first round pick. Obviously, I'd give up Tyler Madden, and I'd probably give up.
I need a little more there, like a salary.
No, I'm going
matcher.
more. I'm going more.
Oh, okay.
Probably give up like I can't even pronounce this guy's name, but this Swedish defenseman, he's got a little offensive upside to him because when you
Elias
think
Bornfoot.
no, there's no way, no, not Bjorn for no,
I don't know. He's a Leafs legend.
yeah, he was a part of the Muzzin deal. No, it's like this other guy from Sweden. I'm not going to bother pronouncing his name, but I do think that the first, like, although a first round pick's a first round pick to every team, I think just the fact that the Kings are probably going to have that be a top 15 pick, I think it does provide more value to a team like Arizona. Like, good for the Toronto Maple Leafs that that first round pick is basically a second, given how low it's most likely going to be. Uh, the Kings are probably going to get somewhere in the top 15 range, but with the lottery, they could easily slide in the top 10. You got to have someone replace Drew Doughty. His contract is slowly coming up, and the production is, it's sprinkles. This year, he was really great last year, and he started off great this year, but then the injury happened, and he's kind of like regaining his foot. But they have I'm looking at their Ontario, and they have Jordan Spence on defense, who's been offensively great. Brant Clark just won defenseman of the month in the OHL, being the captain there. I said 40 assists in 40 games. Like, he's definitely going to be a big part of the Kings moving forward. But I think the Kings have the best to offer, just given the fact that they're constantly ranked in the top two, and they're always number two in prospect pool. So they probably have the most to offer the Arizona Coyotes, and I think it just makes the most sense for Chychrun. He's going to lose a lot more money given that Arizona is not a state, is a no state tax. Now he's going to the second highest tax state, so that might suck. But the Kings have the cap space too to sign him to a deal that Jacob Chychrun wants. The contract's going to expire well after guys like Kopitar and Doughty with their $10 million deal and Quick are gone. So the Kings will have a lot to spend, and I think they could definitely, get rid of a guy like Tyler Madden, get rid of another defenseman, and dish out a first-round pick because, I mean, if they want to be competitive, which I think they have the ability to do with their prospect pool and just with free agency in general, with Philip Deneau as their number one, number two defenseman, I definitely think that will be a realistic option. And if Chychrun doesn't get moved to a contender, I could see a pretender in the Kings being a home for him. And they've done really well developing defensemen.
I wasn't saying anything. I just those. I found it funny that you called them pretenders.
Oh, I mean, like I was saying, like in a few, pretenders, like they can like slowly climb up. I know what pretenders.
They're in the
second.
They're in the second wild card. I mean, they're not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to stay there, but
they could. They're they're tied for third in the Pacific. It could happen.
Yeah, it could, but I hope it doesn't because I really want that pick to be lowered, just for the sake of another prospect.
Imagine Shane, right?
I actually, one of my buddies is in his draft. This is his draft year. His name's Rucker. He plays for the US NDP, and his projection is like 15 to 18.
Rucker,
dude, he gets
this is a message to Rucker. Hold on, yeah. Let me. I'm looking at you, Rucker. You asshole. No, I'm kidding. You did what's best for you. No, because he decommitted from my favorite university and went to the rival.
Oh, Notre Dame. Yeah, I was like, yo, what happened? He's like, no. Yeah, I'm decommitting from Notre Dame. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah,
But
that's
he's
all.
projected in that 15 to 18 range, and
Wouldn't that be
hope
something?
if he goes to LA, that would be so dope, man. That'd be pretty cool. It's just a fantasy, but it would be pretty cool. But no, the Chikrin, I mean, Klingberg, we talked about, is another hot defenseman who's looking for a fat contract as well. But they're all tied to the contending teams, and I don't see some of these contending teams actually wanting to pull the trigger. They said Klingberg to Boston. It just doesn't make sense because I don't think Boston would be able to retain him. And oh my God, I'm blanking on Don Sweeney is too smart of a GM to make a move that he knows will not benefit him in the future. Ergo getting Taylor Hall and then signing him to 4 years, $6 million. So I don't see Boston there, but I could see teams like LA, Anaheim, Josh Manson could possibly leave. They would need another number one. They have a great prospect pool coming up. It's just interesting. This month it's definitely interesting given the fact that it used to be forwards that were always on the hot market, but now it's even the rare position in defense where one move at the deadline could really shape how a team performs in the playoffs.
Exactly. And I don't know, man. Do we got anything else to touch upon? I think
we
we've
can wrap it up. It was a
worn it all
good
out.
show.
It was a great show.
There's not much to talk about, man. First one on DSN.
First episode of DSN.
Yeah,
Mark it in the
inaugural.
books.
So
Inaugural
if we want to do a little quick thing, are you guys good for one little quick thing? I have a question I want to ask you guys.
I'm always good for one quick thing.
Okay, so basically on TikTok, I've been getting into a little bit of an issue about Kyle Dubus. I am very high on Kyle Dubus. I really like Kyle Dubus. I think he's a very good drafter. The one area that maybe
I dare you to
makes
say
him is the fact that he's not a good negotiator. I'll give him that. He gives away a lot of money, but he's a great trader. I think he's a great drafter, and I like him as our general manager. I don't think he's the reason that the Leafs haven't been able to find playoff success. I got into a heated TikTok debate where a lot of people were getting mad at me.
Not to mention the question that was poised was, is Kyle Dubus a top tier GM? I think that was the question.
And I don't think he's a Joe Sakic. I don't think he's that. Like, I'm not going to do the exact.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how you kick off DSN.
I don't think he's that top tier GM that the TikTok question was posing. But I think he's a great GM, and I want to ask you guys, maybe we'll do a rating out of 10. I want you to tell me what you'd rank Kyle Dubus out of 10. Do you answer a yes or no? Do you like Kyle Dubus as our GM, or do you think he's the problem here in Toronto? We'll start with Mr. Glasses himself, Adamo Rimoli.
Yeah,
put him on while you say
shades back on.
Kyle Dubus is the most valuable asset in this organization.
And to be honest, I'd have to. I think he's a very valuable and a very
maybe not the
GM.
most. Austin Matthews exists.
Okay, not the most.
Yeah, he's a close second.
In terms of management, I think he's been great. I really like him. And
if one of our managements have to, it's got to be Shanny, Keefe, or Kyle. Kyle's the last one to go because he'll get claimed in a second.
Dubus, yeah, definitely.
He's a smart guy. He's a really smart guy. And I need to take these off, man. It is killing me because I'm staring at myself.
The reflection's ridiculous.
It's bad, man.
I didn't think
Dude, those reflections. I didn't even notice until you mentioned it. Like,
it's brutal. These aren't even my real glasses. These are my blue light glasses. I
gotta get them, man. Those things are still.
So let's go out of 10. What are you giving Kyle Dubus, and give a little brief explanation. Like, where do you think he's great? 9. Elite at everything except signing people. I should say. I exactly agree with that. Mario, how about you?
Yeah, so if you don't know about me, very high on Kyle Dubus. I remember the questions were getting shot out of a cannon last playoff about who's to blame. Is it Dubus? Is it Keefe? I said, well, Dubus did everything he could to put this team in front of him. The players failed to pull their end of the weight or their end of the bargain. So I'm very high on Dubus. I'm going to give you a rating, give it an 8 to 8.5. This guy is, I think Adamo says it best. He not very good at negotiating contracts, and you're going to look at all the old school guys, the elite tier GMs that we've been discussing. Stevie Y's in there. They know how to, like, they're older guys. They've been around the league. They've been around the game so much. They know what they can do and what they cannot do, what they can get away with and what they can't get away with. Dubus does all the right moves in regards to trades. I thought this trade, I know we didn't touch upon it too much in depth, but in regards to what Dubus is doing with these guys, it's man, that was a steal of a trade that we saw a couple of days ago. And it's been a lot of steals thus far. You look at the Michael Bunting one. I don't think that's a lot of negotiating
Joseph
there, but that's
Woll.
finding a diamond in the rough. Joseph Woll, if you want to bring in that one. No, I got to give him an 8.5 out of 10 because he's done everything but get the success, and that's definitely not on him.
Yeah, and I agree with that as well. It's unfortunate that the team does not show up come playoff time. Maybe the one bad trade he made, you could look at that Nick Foligno deal, but in fairness, you have to look at where he was at the time, where hypothetically, if the team were to have not choked that lead to Montreal, go on a cup run, then no one's complaining about it. It's just, unfortunately, you win, no one asks questions, you lose, and people start pointing the finger. So that one's not a great trade. That one hasn't aged well, but you can understand where he was at the time. And in general, I think Dubus has done more than enough to make the team competitive. It's about time that the boys have to kind of shake their heads a little bit and pick it up come playoff time when it really matters. And really the person I want to hear their opinion on is Mr. Davis, who I know has a differing opinion a little bit. So tell me what you think about Kyle Dubas.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give Kyle Dubas a 7 out of 10 just because I mean, it's not that far off from where you guys are. I can't give him a 5 because he hasn't failed the Leafs, and I can't give him a 6 because he definitely hasn't almost failed the Leafs. But I definitely think the contract negotiations is a huge Charlie horse that a lot of teams, or not a lot of teams, but there are some teams we talk about, the New York Rangers being one of them, where they have 5 guys tied up to about 70% of their cap space. And I know the Leafs are about, I think, 5 guys with 67% of their cap space. And look, I do think, like, you look at some of the draft picks that he has had. I mean, prior to him, it was Morgan Riley, and then it's also guy. I mean, like, I didn't realize how many Leafs prospects were in the second round that are just exponentially better than a lot of first round picks. Like, just because you're a first round pick doesn't mean you're hot shit. It's what you do once you get drafted. And he's done a good job of, like, it seems like mentoring those guys, just being like, you can be a part of this team. However, it's the signing. At first I thought the William Nylander signing was an overpay given the fact that he hadn't played in a while. I mean, he was holding out until mid-December, but now it's turned out to be one of the best contracts on the Leafs, I would say. But when we have these discussions of, like, Petr Mrazik making 3.8, they just dumped Nick Ritchie at 2.5. Now you're talking about dumping Justin Hall at $2 million. For all the good that he does, there are the negatives that need to be addressed. And I do think when we're constantly talking about contracts that need to be dumped, I don't see that as an A-level GM. But I would say, out of my tiers, I would put guys like Brisebois, Yzerman, Sakic in the first tier. Yeah. And then in the second tier, I would put Kyle Dubas, just because
probably
like when you
probably like in there too. George McPhee.
Yeah, George McPhee. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just only thinking
Kyle
Dubas there. But, when you look at the top tier GMs like Yzerman, who got booed when he picked Moritz Seider, and now he could possibly be a Calder finalist, like, what? And then Brisebois getting guys at $9.5 million who should be making $15 million a year. I mean, they do their job. It's just Kyle Dubas. I've said it numerous times. He's kind of like, the players are like the kids, and he's the dad in the candy shop, and he's like, whatever you want, I'll buy for you. And that's the reason why I give him a 7, is just because there's been too many times where we've heard of, we need to dump salary and not more than you'd like to hear.
And that is actually a very fair assessment. There's definitely the obvious issues with him, but at the same time, I think you have to give him his credit. And I agree with that. He's not in the Sakic territory, but I think he is a step below. And for a young general manager, that's fairly high praise.
No, yeah. I'll put him there. I think as he gets older and more sophisticated, he'll definitely, like, start to, I can't look at those fucking
glasses boy elite.
But I do think once he reaches, like, a later stage in his career, he'll definitely, like, look back at the early part of his career and realize, maybe I should have reconstructed these deals to make it so that we're not constantly shooting ourselves in the foot at the deadline, trying to make a move for a team to take this player, and meaning that we have to give up an asset because we need this contract off.
Glasses boy elite. Here's my calculator.
The calculator cowboy.
Absolute
cowboy
over there.
Oh,
The one thing I want to just say, and this is probably gonna be a lot. Oh wow, light comes
Have
off
you done that?
right when I say
Oh.
that. Jesus Christ!
They don't want to hear what you have to say.
My light doesn't want to hear what I have to say.
It's a sign from God.
is it like automatic or did you hit something?
No, it's plugged into my old computer. So when that fails, the light fails, and that
That's
computer fails very
unfortunate.
often. It's very unfortunate. The one thing I do want to say about Kyle Dubas, though, is that we've seen a huge evolution from this guy from when he came into the front office to what we've seen now. The one
Mhm.
thing that hasn't
Yeah.
aged like fine wine, unlike his trade progression, where he's getting a lot more steals than many other GMs in this league, is that there's still a lot, and Evan, you hit the nail on the head. There's still a lot of bad contracts, and every year it seems like we're dealing with another one on our hands. The Nick Ritchie one, I know you're taking a big shot there with what he did the season prior with Boston, but again, offering a guy like that kind of money for what you're kind of expecting from him isn't the right one. The one thing I'll say is he's taking a lot more calculated risks. He's not going purely on the 1-year deals like he did the year prior and had to ship off all those guys like a Nick Foligno, for example. You look at Michael Bunting. Michael Bunting's got 2 years on his contract. So
Wow.
I believe, does David Kampf have 2 years, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken?
a lot of these guys got 2
That's
deals.
what I said at the beginning of the year when we were talking on
Yeah.
the show about what we're expecting to see from this Leafs team. What we liked about those offseason moves is that there's actual terms. So he's learning from the previous mistakes he's made, which is the only thing you can ask from a GM. And I think the only question Leafs are going to be asking down the road, and I could be wrong because I don't know if this is actual question, but I think the Leafs might be wondering if we can actually keep Kyle Dubas. I don't know. Do GMs sign their contracts? Are they under
Yeah.
contract with the team?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, of course.
yes, they are. And I promise you, MLSC they'll back the Brinks truck up to his house.
No, dude, yeah,
Absolutely.
Jim Rutherford, Brian Burke, like Berkey and all those guys, they make like 3 to 4 million, maybe
Mhm.
even 5.
You know what I kind of want to see them do? Not them, but like, you know what I want to see, like an Instagram account or even shit. You know what? I gave us an elite TikTok idea. I want whoever, maybe Jared. I don't know if Jared's our TikTok guy, or maybe
Got a
we can
lot.
discuss it here. I want us to give like front office members like Chell ratings. Like, what would Dubas be rated in Chell? Like,
I
if
feel like he'd be
if-
rated like an
if-
85.
What's his X factor?
99
what's his
drafting.
shocking off?
His X
Nope.
factor
Calculator
is fucking
cowboy.
Calculator
shit
cowboy.
contracts. Upside down. I think he would be an 85 in
I think
like
I'd give
in-
well, it depends what the top, like if the top GM is like a 95, like what Eiserman's a 95, because
I would give
Chell.
Eiserman a 98 or something.
Yeah,
got
but
the
like
wild card.
Chell, if
89
McDavid's
maybe?
Okay,
if
yeah, like in
McDavid's not-
Chell, like let's
I'd
say
give
let's
Dubas
say
like probably a 90, probably.
89, 90, yeah.
Like if Eiserman's like a 95, Breezeball's probably a 92. Eiserman's or who am I forgetting?
Sakic.
Sakic's probably
Sakic.
94. I'd say Dubas could be like a 90, 89. I think that's
Yeah.
fair.
I'd
I
say
think
more on
that's
the 89
fair.
than a 90.
And this
'cause I would
can't be a
put-
part of the 90 club.
I would put-
Definitely his
actually,
X
no,
factor
because, like-
has to be drafting.
Now, where would Jim Benning be?
Oh fuck, dude,
He's
he
an
shouldn't even be
AHL
allowed to
player.
have
Peter Chiarelli?
whoever's the
Ken
lowest
Holland's in the
rated,
70s. He's in the 70s, Ken Holland.
whoever's the lowest rated NHL player, Jim Benning should be 20 overalls lower than
Benning's that guy in franchise mode that you draft him high and you really want to see him succeed, and you're 10
He
years
just
into your
does it, man.
franchise mode.
no, and then every year
hasn't
he's a
made it.
Your
dash 30.
45 overall elite goalie that you pick up in the 3rd round. We've all been there.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, that's definitely an interesting I mean, like, obviously my opinion is different. I would probably put Dubas in like the 88 range just because just in terms of like, you know, when you see the stars, I would definitely put a 5 on drafting, maybe like a 4.5 on trades, but then like the contract negotiations might be like a 3. So I think that's where it kind of like dips down a little bit. But no, I mean, that would definitely be cool. We should do that. That's like an interesting content idea, something original.
Yeah. Oh.
And we don't have to do it with every. We can just do like the top 10. Rate
Yeah,
them,
no one
you know,
cares
like-
about like David.
No one cares
Boyle
about
or
Aaron
No,
whatever.
and you throw in Ken Holland just to kind of make fun of someone.
Yes.
sake of
No,
controversy.
you create the list and it's like a bunch of spaces. and
Towns
it's like,
Jester.
Yes. Oh,
That's
I think
we're
Kevin,
good.
you wanna-
Unless we
you
got
wanna
any
wrap
other.
it up?
I love that it was
No,
supposed to be the
I'm-
quick question, Jared, and it went
Yeah.
ran its own
Yeah, we
course.
dragged this out. We were done.
we
this,
were
like,
good. We had the
finished
good
the
hour.
outline. We finished the outline in like an hour 5, hour 10, and we
Yeah,
just
it's
kind of
Jared's fault.
yeah.
Nah, we were feeling creative.
Hey,
we
I love
had a
it.
lot to
Kick-
That
say.
was good.
we kicking
we
Jared
came
on
up with
the
a good
first day?
idea.
Anyways,
Oh.
you want me to wrap it up for the
Sure.
inaugural episode of Leafs Line and DSN. So thank you guys for tuning in. There goes my baseball that I tried to balance on my microphone. But thank you guys for tuning into Leafs Line for this episode. I believe we're at season 2, episode 17, if I'm not mistaken, or 18 of the Leafs Line podcast. You're gonna see a new thumbnail on this video. You're gonna see a new banner and everything here. You're gonna see a bunch of big content coming your way with DSN. Please go check it out. Link is in the description below. Definitely go see what's up because we got articles, we got baseball, we got hockey, we got everything covered. So if you like sports, if you love sports, check out Dynasty Sports Network. Win together, grow together. That is DSN. Thank you guys for tuning in and have a great rest of your evening. I got to catch up on none of the sleep I've gotten this last 24 hours. So take care.